Truly is. Awesome. Truly is. Awesome. Glorious, is it? And here we are. There are people already. Mhm. Hold on. No, I did not touch the keyboard. Put that there and large. Hello, TG, Drax, Marnage, Beth, X. Spout stream. No. Just making sure my overlay is working. Helldivers do stream. No, of course not. Hold on. Oh, wow, it's dark. Hello. There we go. Hi, everyone. Why do I hear the game? No, you don't. It's just me. It's the usual. Hello, Thunder Tune. Oh, did you like the ambience? Hmm. And let's play it. There we go. I haven't seen you use your other overlays. That's true. Something sounds different. What does? You have caught me in transit. I'm supposed to be at a certain destination, but I'm already running late. So, whoa. Yeah, that because I've been getting hardware problems. My left receiver seems to be acting wonky. But yeah. It's a foot salute. I know. I'm not sure what's going on either. I have to double check my PCIe USB card. My flashlight fell and it tugged on all the cables. Maybe that's the cause of what's making it strange. Maybe if I sit, things will be better. Anyway, how is everybody doing this fine evening? I feel like there's something off with my audio. Let me listen. No, I'm not on a taxi. Super Destroyer, please. Mitzi says, my room decided to start leaking today, so I'm fighting water much like you were with your new space. The ingress of water. Yes, truly something not easy to contend with. Yes, you can simply let it evaporate, sure. But once it dampens things it's not supposed to dampen, that's when the real trouble starts. Especially when it reaches wood. Hmm. What? No, that shouldn't be. Is it? Is my audio distorted? Check. One. No. Where is NVIDIA broadcast anyway? Oh, what the heck? Why is that playing? Oh. No wonder you guys were saying. Where were we? There we go. It's something off. I know. I had to unplug and replug all my USB devices, all like 20 of them, and I may have distorted something in the process. Let me double check. NVIDIA broadcast. Yeah, the broadcast. So the unnecessary ambient noise that plays through is not playing through. Yep. So it's going to the DJI properties. Mhm. I told you I'm just here. What silly space did you think I was inhabiting? But I am concerned though. You said my voice sounds a bit crunchy. It's not supposed to be that way. Your streams always make me smile even though my day went from good to shite, says Godfrey. I hope it doesn't get any worse. Enjoying the MMD worlds, I see stars. Well, the crunch is spreading. I'm not hearing much crunch anymore. I wonder what it could be. Let me check Task Manager, maybe. My GPU load is a bit higher than expected. Gosh. Hello, Blueberry. Unfortunately, my mouse is around 5 feet away from me. Gotcha. We shall not discuss it any further. I recently noticed that my schedule has been rotating again. Like, I slept around 3 or 3:30 p.m. my time instead of the usual 2. With each passing day, I advance by 1 hour. And also, I wake up 1 hour more subsequently. I think it was because I was trying to play Helldivers audio with your mic. Must be a world thing. Let's see. For a chance, I can. There we go. Could help take off the load a little bit. How are my other cameras, too? Hi. Nothing special. I don't even know where it is. There it is, straight ahead. Potential listening from in class. I see. I have voice mode to clean up the SS of my microphone. If I don't, you're just gonna hear a whole lot. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Windows. Sorry for starting late today. Like, really late. Don't worry, my stream won't take us long. I already burned through 10% of my battery simply trying to sort out my tracker issues. Wonder what it could be. It's working. Earlier, this thing was like flying up. It's so fair. Righty. Oh, note to self. Don't walk there. There. Gab late impossible. Yes. Get to see the beans twice for free. I mean, it's not something rarely seen. It's always been present, Ichi. It's been there. Look at the view. I wonder when I'm gonna arrive to my destination in this funny looking taxi that I'm in. I don't know why we have so many pit stops and people are dropped via pods, but hey, I was given a ride for free. Something democracy. I don't know. Their food's not that bad though. A little bland, but who can complain when it comes from a meal ticket? Gab is never late. He arrives precisely when he needs to. You sly dog. What? Nothing wrong with trying to hitch a ride, right?
Flirting with this disaster became me. It named me as a fool to be.
Yeah. I remember Axel mentioning over at General in my Discord something about, oh, if you would go to 3 hours past, then perchance I can catch the stream.
There's a part of me.
I'm not sure what time I'm gonna arrive, but I'll try to stay as long as I can. That's something at least I can offer. Just watch out if they try to give you a cape and shove you. I don't know. They were making me read all sorts of funny things to pass the time, and if I don't watch it, they're gonna shoot me overboard. Okay, fine. In-flight movie, whatever. Hello, I'm watching in VR chat, says Crystal. Oh, nice. I'm glad you got your clothing working. Popcorn Palace. I might hang out after stream until my batteries run out, such is the standard of what I do. So, if you, Beth, and the others in Popcorn Palace, I might drop by. Damn, I just wish I could sort out why this foot keeps on flying off. The Super Earth Travel Panel. Yeah. What is this? Oh, already stepping over the thing. My goodness. It seems Beth has decided to go move the bar ever so closer. I actually, 1/8. We're actually past 50%, chat. My goodness. We might just make par for this month. There were a lot of miscellaneous fees for my first. One thing I did not foresee about the apartment move was having my electrical and water deposit higher because I apparently consume higher than the other tenants. I mean, I just consume 4 times as much, but I don't think that should be a cause for having it increase. Anyway, I had to pay off the landlord, and now I'm just waiting until what, the 31st for my proper electric bills, and I am frankly quite anxious about it. Given that I'm running two ACs instead of one, then what less power, 70/70 instead of 100% all the time, that should still net me a higher bill. Anyway, we will find out end of the month. Are you streaming to 5 a.m. today? That is a possibility. Which also means I'll probably be staying up all the way till after lunch. Yes. Hello, Gibbon friends. Hello, Rook Cuttlecrow. Ah, yes, I remember Rook. I wonder if someone is tapped into your. Oh no, I double checked. Don't worry. I just really consume a lot of electricity. Uh, that's just the nature of having everything in your apartment be electrical. My fridge, microwave, my air fryer, my aquarium pumps, lights, my water pump, my shower, my double ACs, my computer system, my hair dryer, my food dehydrator. Everything is electric. I don't have anything that runs on gas. You're clearly a nocturnal species, I see. That's correct. Yours truly drives during the night. Probably because it's not as hot. If you're wondering where Vesper is, she is currently preoccupied at work. So it's just gonna be me. Hello, Studio Ruak. Ruak. Continues. I'm really glad I ended up somewhere everything is cheap as heck, especially with my current job search. Oh, always sucks when things are so expensive, aren't they? Why is it so expensive to live? But then again, if you remove money, you remove retail, commercial stuff. What are you gonna do? Go out into the wild and hunt some animals? Start a fire? Ruak, got it. Yeah, I'm never going back to California, says Rock. Yeesh. Ah, not a good experience, I see. To be fair, I have never been to America, so I don't know how it is there. Maybe someday, maybe not. Given how strict things are there about letting people that are Americans in. Please. California, rough. Stay out of Florida too. Not great. Hey, at least all sorts of meme stuff happens in Florida. Florida man, big black dude with a pizza strapped to his back, wrestling an alligator. Quite the sight I would pay to see. When you think about it, taxes are just a yearly subscription to the country you live in. Childhood is the free trial. Oh, it depends on the childhood. Vesper is a working student. No Americans allowed in America. Gotta pay the price to live, but you wake up for free. That's true. Interesting series of events there, Axel. Man, I'm so bothered by the fact that my leg trackers aren't working consistently. There's some sort of interference somewhere. I wonder where it would be. Rook says honestly I'd consider moving and working outside the United States if I knew how. Work remote, go to a country in which the dollar has an exponential power in spending, like the Philippines. That's the advice I was giving Vesper. You know, if you find a not so high paying job there, but at least you can do it remote, and then you live in my place, in which everything is 5 or 6 times cheaper. That's the same as you having a salary 5 or 6 times as much. For the basic necessities, at least. Axel says, alright, I gotta go for another presentation. 1 a week. Yay. I'll be back in an hour ish. Good luck, Axel. I'm sure you'll rush it. Ah, yes. Back to the grind. What's the experience of obtaining PC hardware over there? Ah, pretty okay. It's the only time I really encounter the whole out of stock thing and things being slightly more expensive than usual is when it came to the 5090s. But everything else, they're really abundant here. Ironic, all the tech is very much present here. You know, we have all the electric vehicles, the phones, the newest TVs, heck, even the little robot vacuums are available here first compared to the West. But then again, they are presenting these items, these products to individuals who don't exactly have the spending power to get the flagship items, unless you're the 0.1% of the population. Huh. You know, it's strange. The divide here in the Philippines between the upper, the middle, and the lower class is enormous. I have a guess that more than 90% of us are in the lower class. If you earn, what was it, $600 or less per month, you are like lower class or lower mid. I forgot. There's like a little graph. Bummer. I saw news about the states putting customs taxes duties on everything that's being imported there now. Not if it's below 800. Sucks. I feel for the small businesses that rely on getting parts from abroad, predominantly from China. Hello, Lord Sizzo. Mitzi, who assembles slime, says it severely impacted getting my trackers. So, let's say you sell your trackers for $100 each. Just an example. How much of a price adjustment would it be now? Is it 20% more? 30? 40? Oh, hello. Foot salute. 40 to $50 more. Okay. That is expensive. Maybe after stream, I'm gonna double check all my wiring and stuff. Maybe repair my trackers. Right. Give me a moment. I'm just checking Discord. Don't switch. Stream pings. Ah, we have Blue. No, we have Crystal. We have Beth. And we have inventory chicken in the drive-thru. Fantastic. Rook says, for now it's nice living in a cold, fairly low population area. My lord, is the alcohol cheap. Have more to sanitize yourself with. Thank you for the 10 bits. AK Husky. My rename Crystal even tweaked out the beloved oppressor. Yes. You sure got me. Especially when I have a lot on my mind. You know how when you lie down, for example, and then you're just like that. And then you start thinking quietly. Like, what could be wrong with my trackers? Did I plug everything in properly? I could have sworn it was set up correctly. Something like that. If this still persists, I might consider reformatting my PC. I think it's time I got out of this insider build, whatever I signed up for long, long ago, like last year. I can't even play Space Marine 2 without EAC acting up. Dang. I know. It's just a bit of effort because I have to reinstall Unity, and I mean, in theory, I can just like put a new window somewhere else and not delete everything on my hard drive, and that should spare me some effort, I think. I mean, yeah, Unity is easy enough. The Blender. This weekend, I probably will. I still do want to play some Space Marine, the Astartes mod. Unfortunately, I won't be staying long. It's a little late. Good night, Marnage. Don't worry, I won't. I won't be persisting as long as I have in my previous streams. I'll be here maybe 2 hours and a half. Unless something special happens. Somebody buys some time, which I cannot say no to. Considering the amount of ears, how much do you hear sensitivity-wise? My ears are pretty much like a... what do you call that? Semi-cardioid microphone. It's like here, but more. Ish. I don't know. It's hard to describe. I sure do hear the whispers of the people around me. Oh my gosh, how it would be so nice to lubricate that tank's bang with some British butter. Like, ooh, I absolutely feel attractive now thanks to the recommendation of a certain someone. Who would have known that being a cat snake would have been my true calling? Gotta be modest and hide a harness in front of the beloved oppressor. I can go on. Oh, yes, the cat snake. Something about chicken and inventory. But I won't drone on the topic. It might confuse you. That's funny. My foot was like a snake. Oh, hi, Fluffy. So if I walk here, my trackers are gonna start acting up. Okay, so I'm gonna step up, step down. Okay. Hello, Lane. Haruks here. It's been a while. Kamusta? I heard that. You heard what? Me flinging the coin. Hello, Nord. I'm glad you could make it. Thanks for the 5 pennies. Maraming salamat. Look at all that nice fresh air outside that I obviously cannot experience right now because I'm inside the ship. I totally need to make myself a night piece. Novas just don't cut it anymore. Cut it for what? Is that clipping I see? Well, back to Blender I go. Zoom in. There we go. You saw nothing, chat, as I have not. Oh, I know. But why the Night Beast over the Nova Beast? Enhance. I can still see the clipping gap. I know it's not perfect. Trying my best. And yes, my collar is like stretched in the middle. So you're focusing on the wrong things. Being evil, please. I'm anything but. Probably the nicest guy here on the ship. I wasn't going crazy. It's you're having too much honey. It's getting to your head, Rhymes. There's no such thing as too much honey. Perchance. I know you take pride in your work, but we're here for you. Thanks. It seems like with every other day, I always encounter something that's getting in the way. Something in Unity. Oh, the blend shape wasn't activated in the animation. It's activated now, but it's clipping because you did not adjust it in Blender. Resculpt time. Everything's set. You're ready to go live. No, you have to troubleshoot for an hour. Your USB port is acting funny, letting you have one of your feet trackers fly up and do the foot salute that you were seeing. How was your week? Yep. A lot of that, Nord, because of a certain Vesper that was really hawked. Can I say? That's fun. It's been busy. Ah, yes. Look at you, almost at level 40, and you just having started playing like a week or so ago. Note to self, find Vesper more shooting games. That's what she likes. That's just kind of shit because you're here solo. I'm top one in my class because I'm the only student. Something like that. Better late than never, of course. I wonder what the issue could be. I am really not looking forward to reinstalling Windows. Oh, all my reinstalling the plugins for my browser. There has to be a quicker way. Something about reinstalling Windows, but remembering all my apps, but that's it's not even a thing. I have to double check. There's always a quicker way, game. Oh no, don't even get me started. I love Windows. You install Windows and take a snapshot of it, and boom, you can restore it in minutes. Oh yeah, system restore. I have to check. System restore. Yes. I mean, I'm not transferring it to a. I'm not cloning my disk. I just need to start over with a more stable version of Windows because I'm in the weird canary build. I said, oh, Windows Insider program. Sure, why not? Little did I know I could not roll back. I should have stuck with what was working. Why if it isn't lit? What a pleasant surprise to see you. It's been a while. Have you been lost in the depths of fried rice cooking ham? I hope you're doing okay at your end. Yeah, I've been busy, but not just with fried rice. Other Asian things, understood. No problem. Knowing you're Knowing your capacity for energy being low, yeah, I wouldn't push it. I'm gonna sit. Get the cables. So when did you wake up today? I woke up at around 11:30 p.m. my time. My body clock is starting to rotate again, trying its best to not have a night owl schedule. Even though I'm telling it to not. Hmm. Maybe a reset with melatonin would help. I have to be more strict with my sleeping time. That's for sure. It's just so nice to go lie down and rest your head on a pillow, drift off to sleep. The older you get, the more you get to appreciate nap time. Unfortunately, my blood is not composed of coffee, unlike Beth, so I do succumb to the sleepy or easily. Vesper says we accidentally stayed up late. Gab let me watch him work on Abby stuff. So yeah, maybe I was working on some Unity stuff last night. Yeah. And that's how I ended up staying up late. There's a rewind function now for the subsets. Great. So if you miss a moment, what was Gab talking about 30 seconds ago? Beth says you need that coffee, Ivy. Beth, I would probably die. You, though, that's the opposite. It says, I remember being strictly against nap time back then, but now I can barely stay awake whenever. You get used to the heart palpitations. I don't know. I like being unaware of my heart. You know, I don't like to think about it. It's sort of like how you get bothered when you have to manually breathe, right? Vesper reaffirms that no coffee for me and no coffee for Gib. Big anxiety from the caffeine. Look, Bev, I love the flavor of coffee. I love the aroma, how it looks. But just not the caffeine part. How dare you bring up manual, right? Well, you have to be aware now, like, and then when do I exhale? Right? It sucks. And then you have to wait for it to revert to something autonomic. Zephyr Guinness is signed the sub for 1 month. Welcome to Subscription Land. I hope you enjoy the emotes. Thank you.
Almost flew, almost doing.
I don't think coffee would do me well either, says Litz this week. I drank like barely a big Burger King cup of energy and I could feel my hands shaking. Yeah.
She's almost you, almost all the things that you promised with your eyes. I see in hers too.
You know, I can play with the topic, right? Do you want me to go on? It's gonna be in line with like British butter, the seasonal kind. That's just an addiction, that's true. One of the terrible things when you realize is how your own nose smells. So what you do is you give your nostrils a good pinch a few times and then inhale slowly. Yes. So imagine that's what other people smell if they go for a long smooch, like sticking their face to your face. And like, did I just smell this other person's nose? Joke's on you, I can't smell anything. Look at you. Extremely high caffeine tolerance and not having any olfactory function.
all the things that you promised
I'm aware of everything about my body now. Or like when you move left and right, if you're more on the high calorie side of things, you're now aware that there's stuff in the way that like it unrolls and re-rolls itself so it can conform to the bend. Ah yes, my high calorie friend was always bothered about that. Test yourself for COVID, Beth. He's fine. My bad habits have killed my sense of smell. Probably not the wisest idea to go dab a Q-tip in some nice old gasoline and use it to clean. Mm. Beth is now immune to bad smells. It's a skill. You can actually safely attend fur conventions now, Beth. It's a place I would dare not tread. Ah. One of the funny things I used to do is, do you know what Vicks inhalers are? Like, it's the little thing you have to unscrew it, right? And then like, it's nice and minty. I would often buy two and then stick both up my nose, and then it would just be there. And I would like use it like as a breathalyzer of or something. Ah, I was addicted to those when I was younger, says Zephyr. I love them. That would kill some parental expression. Yes. I am actually quite hungry. I have so much to troubleshoot this weekend. Fun. And I was looking forward to some VR chat time too. Vic smell things. I know about the vapor, about that. Yeah, there's the Vic smell things. In the Philippines, it's everywhere. So you go to like your local grocery or drugstore. You just get the Vicks inhaler. It's what it's called. And smells nice. Are you gonna get something to eat after stream? Of course. What? You have something to offer? You know I won't say no if it's good. I'm just enjoying the afternoon rain, says Kendall. The sound is nice. I bet it is. Well, I can make crepes with various toppings. I love crepes, especially when it has ice cream in it. One of my favorite, simplest ones would be vanilla ice cream, some nice yellow sweet mango, and some chocolate syrup. Yes. But I'm at work, so no hanging out in VR for me right now. Who am I gonna spend time with after stream? We probably need to summon the crippled out of their cripple house. Gosh. That's a lot of cripples. Ah, yes. British buttery, and no, I'm good. Take that. He can enjoy his time. From what I've heard, Mr. Butter should be spending time with some tanks instead. Fluffy, maybe. I think the cat snake looks really nice. Vesper says crepes are so good. I usually just put some slightly sweetened strawberries, lemon juice, and powdered sugar on top of it. Ah. I know, don't worry. We had to DM Butter, but toning it down because it was approaching the icky side of things. I don't mind playing into a joke for the sake of ha-has and he-has. When things start to look gross, I mean that kind of gross. I don't know about that. You have to talk to Beth. Yeah, Beth likes to call O'Shawn, as Planet British Butter. Yeah, the Gloom slash Butter. Funny. Setting up these slimes is painful. You know what? Once you get the slimes working, they're surprisingly really consistent. Unlike Mr. Lighthouse Obscured Trackers here. The notes was on the floor. Think about that. Oops. Hello, Star Hyena. Been a while. Yes, I clearly was the one who called it that, says Beth. 100%. Something about Butter quickly melting to his flamethrower. Weapon of choice. Or a flame diver. Yes. Lighthouse Obscured Plant Lizard. Earlier, this thing kept on going up here. I'm giving you bits so I can redeem the thing worth 100k. Good luck. You get there eventually. I'm sure a lot of people are trying their best to. Maybe I give a free one once this gets filled up. I remember offering a bunch of perks and special things to happen should we reach our monthly goals. September is a bit, don't worry, I'm gonna tone it down next month. Hello, Mizuki. I feel like the 100k redeem has kind of lost its value a little as of late. Ah, so you haven't seen the actual redeem of these things lit. Okay. Sure, I may say the anonym. But the post-stream special MEOWs, especially when I lose wagers for my little game Flip the Coin, those have more effort into them. So, yes. I'm closing my eyes. I saw nothing.
A free one, he says.
God damn, I heard it. Stupid text to speech. I don't know, man. it's a little sudden, Biff. Catching me unprepared. Gosh. I sure. Wait. I said when this gets filled up, that's when I toss in the free one. Sort of like, congratulations on buying your TV set. You get a free sound bar, as a gift. That's the sound bar. Oh, note to self, don't stand there. Whoa. That's another kind of heart palpitations. You know what? That little contribution will do. I'm gonna go over to that console over there, something like by the galactic map, and then I'm gonna erase all the instances of me accidentally burning due to certain pyrotechnic weaponry the past week. Yes. Not the ultimatums from Vesper, though. Those are unforgivable. What avatar do you use, Mizuki? I'm curious now. I only lit you on fire like 50 times. Exactly. It's less than 100. It doesn't count. I recently tried a Scorcher, Beth. The main weapon. The medium flamethrower. It's surprisingly really strong. The flesh mobs and all the other armored enemies with high health just disintegrate. Drop a 500 kg. Ah. But that will probably involve me blowing up too. But it's unlike Vesper though. Vesper, you see, Beth mishandles flammables. Vesper, aside from mishandling atomic things, she's just sometimes executes me on the spot. One clear shot up the noggin, and then yes, I have to mash A to call in reinforcements. Another body, please. It's like, what? If only she was here. One shot from that adjudicator, no matter how heavy of an armor I have on, does not save me. What's this? Mizuki replies, I also have some furry avies, but not many. I'm mostly using avies that have a human body with animal ears and tails. Just like Litsa-chan over here. She's more anime girl with a raccoon look sort of deal. You should see me use the arc thrower. I made the mistake of bringing the arc dog, and Vesper ran in front of me. Fortunately, electricity does not discriminate between contact points, so it did the complete opposite a defibrillator would do. Beth can tell you. Right, so we have the burner, we have the shocker. I wish to see the burning of atoms. Not near my proximity, please. It's completely fine not having furry avies, Litz. You're so charming all the same. It's actually having a refreshing face. as company. Now, Nordics, though, he's gonna take some getting used to. So imagine a big quadruped dragon with no clothes on and shiny skin. And he's like an elderly man, sort of deal. And so I just imagine him as the neighborhood grandpa who doesn't wear a shirt and he has like sunburns all over because he has red skin. And is walking around. Shrek. Mm. You know what I'm talking about. The neighborhood grandpa. This is roaming around. Like he's gonna like. Here you are, like just doing your garden, just trimming your head, and he's like, "Oh, what you doing there? Huh? Oh yeah, your garden. That's and it like walks away. You don't understand a single word he says, and you can see the sunburn on like his skin and everything is like fuzzy gray hair. Yeah, the beer belly and the gray exactly. Yes. Yeah, I cannot remove the image from my head. Like it is balding. Like all his hair that used to be on top is now like here. Oh my god. It still has more than Bev has. I bet Bev has majestic hair and other play. Wait, that sounds terrible. I rescind that statement. I bet Bev looks great the way he is. There we go. Yeah, that sounds wrong. Hey, what I meant was because you don't have hair up top, you may have some hair like down there. Here. Yes, I've seen Bev's bald head. 10 out of 10. Down there. Beard, mustache. Yes, yes. That's funny. I was chatting with Bev on Discord the other day. Sometime along the conversation, the topic of his head came up, and he shared that, like, what grooming accessories do you have? He said that I have a buffing wheel. I said, so in my head, you have a buffing wheel. I mean, I heard of head polish, but I did not know you needed power tools to like turtle wax. I mean, it would be great, right? You don't need sunscreen because the mirror like refraction already bounces the light off. And it's a shiny accent to your figure. But a buffing wheel, I know there are hair, like the electric curlers. It just constantly rotates, right? So I guess it makes sense. Gotta keep it shiny, precisely. Getting a six-pack. No. No. Oh, I see. So you can end up as a calico cat. Drags. Hard whack. I have seen in some Chinese videos, right, in Red Note, there was a barber, like this, the middle-aged guy was the client. I was sitting down, right? And then on his head, he has no hair, like, or barely any. He puts like this blue wax-looking thing, and he scalps it to make his head look like it's an iceberg. It I don't I don't know if I should call it genius or not, but you can see all sorts of videos. There's even one where he sculpted it in such a way it looked like an iceberg with a pool in the middle. He put water in it, and then I think he put some goldfish in the middle, and it's like swimming around. Yeah, the Chinese barber video. It was the funniest thing. I- yes, that's the sort of content Geb watches. The Chinese barber videos. Oh my goodness. You see, before it was all about using as much hair as possible on a client's head, and they're gonna make like you know the inflatable balloon poodles and whatnot. Now it's like putting stuff on the head itself, the iceberg head. It's so amazing. Have you ever eaten like those minty fresh candies and they're translucent? That's how it looks. Please stop. I'm starting to mentally recall everything I've accumulated from Instagram the past few days. Let's DMing me funny video links isn't helping. I hope you checked the channel I sent you. Very entertaining. I did not know that our also devout man was actually has his own channel. I am so tempted to emulate one of his videos, but I cannot yet. Think of him as reading a book. And everything was fine until he started reading the book aloud. Oh, those whispers. Oh, chat is lost with what I'm talking about right now. It's better that you don't know. It's in the dark recesses of Instagram, that's for sure. Oh, but it will never top. You see Litsa Chan over here? She shared me a video, which I hope you share to the rest. It involves this lady taking out the trash, right? Probably a week's worth, black plastic bag, it's all filled up. And she was going like, you have to lift it, you have to put it in the dumpster, right? What she did was she poked a hole in one of the corners, and like a swollen womb being drained of its fluids, she, yes, drinking fountain. Anyway, moving on, because I still want to eat after stream. What am I gonna eat? I have some Chinese. Let's see, should have bit onto that like a vampire would, and then so at least she can control her portions and save it for later during the day. Only I've been cursed with my cursed feed so far. But that's not the worst I've seen. Oh! Show me your best, Litz. I'm curious now. I wonder what could be worse than what you've shown me. Truly accursed indeed. I feel like I have to go to a mental hospital if I do. What could be worse than the drink you showed me, Lance? Like, oh man. I am terrified to hear the answers as well. Same here, buddy. Look, I've seen videos on Facebook of all things. Of course, it's my fellow Filipinos doing it. Or was it the Indonesians? It's stuff that they shouldn't be eating. There's always worse, as it's deep in the depths of the gram. Oh, I bet. Lemon part. Lemon party. Oh. You know, I'm always scared whenever I see a video of like it's an empty frame, right? It's an empty frame, and then somebody just walks into it, and then you just see they're up to like below their knees, and then there's a jar in the middle. I remember there being like really baity videos that you think what would happen. But yes. You're giving away your age. Come on, man. I'm not hiding how old I am. Have a guess. I used to play Command and Conquer. Yes, the very first ones from Westwood Studios. And I really enjoyed the cutscenes. Not the jar. You know, the jar. How do you do that? Something like it's like this. This POV, right? This gonna stand. It's so. Yeah, then my MS DOS. Yeah. Forget you saw anything. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Oh my goodness. Don't even get me started on like that delicious ice cream that's soft serve and two ladies enjoying it. Anyway. Yum. It's like some sort of hazelnut chocolate flavor. I don't know. There was so much. Those are Nova Beast beans from Olympus. Ah, the Nova Beast. I think Nova Beasts are so cute. I mean, they taste, they look great. You know, they're nice, tall, sleek. Hydrate, of course. If I could find my water bottle. There we go. Yeah, they taste great. Especially the white ones. Like the vanilla ice cream is what I'm talking about. Vesper says, she is stuck because the cash register isn't working. Oh my. I guess I have to leave the foot rotation out for now. I can go drop by right after stream, a Fluffy, and maybe we can see if there's a solution to your rotatio dilemma. I do have to troubleshoot my damn receivers being all interfery. I have not played anything called Centipede. I played Snake. Ah, yes, snake. Tuk, 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 tuk. Oh, crap, I fell asleep. Well, I mean, you- surely you can invite people around, like Mr. Cat Snake here, and others to keep you company so you don't doze off. Yes, welcome back to the land of the living.
We
What's
should
this?
all chip in. Asterisk tosses a coin to the lizard asterisk.
I love that campaign. You know, Nord is an absolute brilliant person for proposing such a thing, and I 100% endorse it. Yes, thank you. Percussive maintenance. He just has to smack the register real quick and hope that it clicks into its rightful place. And I did not touch the decimal. That's true. Hmm. You should. Unless you're gonna go enlist in the forces of darkness. Last I heard, forces of darkness, they do like funny, like cuddle parties, popcorn palace or something. Ugh, truly revolting, evil deeds. And they give out cookies. The good side, one throws bricks, one produces British butter. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Maybe the light side has plans. The dark side is the good side. Complimentary A grade brewed coffee for all of the dark side members, says Beth, current leader of the dark side. What is truly good and truly bad? Well, if you're blue, you're good. If you're red, you're evil. See, I'm good. Why, if it ain't mystical Aurora, hi Mystic, how you doing? What's shaking, Foxy Mama? Yeah, but I'd say you're chaotic neutral. Ha ha ha. Who? Hmm? I'm just, I'm nice. What's purple then? Purple would be evil Pro Max, right? Because they're the server boosters and they have money to throw around. Except Beth's like he's a different shade of evil. He's Pro Max XL. Beth says, I mean, I do have some coffee beans to roast. I could just part with a few, so each member will give a particular amount of rations. 3 beans per meal, and it's up to them how they're gonna manage it. I'm the only red without nitrous, as Axel. Been thinking about changing things. Go ahead, why not? Mystic says, I just got off work. Ready for the weekend and getting set for HorrorCon. How about you? My brother from another mother. Me, I have to reformat my computer, investigate all of my USB extension lines because my receivers are being funny. This thing was flying all around. That alone is issue enough. I have to fix some clipping on my Avi on the back, so that's a blend. That's a blender. Hooray! I'm gonna enjoy my Saturday and Sunday. But yes, what is HorrorCon, Mystic? That sounds fun. What do you do there? Watch as I do a foot salute. That makes you evil elite, Fluffy. Horror God. Is that something in VR chat? Uh, or is it an actual convention? Trick or treat. 3 B's. Uppercase and lowercase for dress. To emphasize the B part. Hello, Sanadu. Roughly similar to Vkit, but it's PJKT. We're having a yokai main cafe. Oh, the spookies and the cuties combined. Curious to see how that looks. Oh, the yawns. The yawns of hunger. Sleepiness induced hunger. Hunger induced sleepiness. Hunger induced sleepiness. There we go. What's the proper syntax for it? Wallow says I have a couch now in my apartment. Congratulations. I normally don't watch this sort of content, but Gab is nice to relax in. Why, thank you, Rook. Oh my goodness. Mystic says her costume is. Why did I do this to myself? A being a princessita. Perfect. Very apt. I'd have to be like, oh, look at you being so cute and adorable. Speaking of Abby work, I haven't seen your Nova Beast in a long, long while, Mystic. It was actually a topic brought up by Vesper yesterday as we were looking through our old photos from last year. I was mentioning something I haven't seen in a long while. I remember seeing your Nova Beast for the first time. October, I believe, of last year. We met in this particularly colorful world, very vibrant. You were wearing your mechanic's jacket. You still had white and blue as your colors. And it was a very simple but appealing look. I really need to get my VR set up once things stabilize. Things stabilize. What? The shift of the tectonic plates of our planet. The smoke particles not being accounted. I know. Like when I do this. I mean, you wanna fix it for me, Argor? Well, then looks like you will be having to wait. Your face is so animated, it's so adorable. And then it turns sexy and then back to being adorable. Being adorable. Please. But if you have a solution to offer, Argor, I am quite literally all ears. If I can get the face tracking to act right without messing up my blend shapes, then that would be lovely. Just replacing the tail and I get lip service from hell with the Avi. So, from what I understand, you put face tracking on the base Nova Beast Avi, and then you edit that base. It's not, if it's an edited one, you cannot simply drop in and replace the face tracking template that's already there. For example, you're using polygons and then you want to update it with royalties. You have to start over. Is that perchance what you're trying to do? Peanut butter as a snack is a very valid thing to consume. I myself would want some if that was possible. But that's a little scarce in this apartment of mine. Ah, look at Zephyr. With all of his glory, he boosts the server. Thanks. Hello, Wolf Hunting. Thanks for the follow. Slow stream, yes. What can I say? I'm commuting. I'm passing the time as we travel. We're not going that fast, aren't we? Can you imagine a traffic jam in space? Something about being unable to jump drive because you're in proximity of other vessels.
things we used to do. There's a girl here, she's almost you.
Yeah, opaque or a cutout will make it look crispy, I believe.
That you promised with your eyes, I see in hers too.
Fun fact, says TG. The literal translation of peanut butter to Dutch is peanut cheese, which makes no sense if there's no cheese in it. Strange. Wow, do they call it peanut cheese? Mystic replies, not quite. I have the face tracking FBX in Blender and simply remove the tail. I bring it back to Unity and some blend shapes don't quite work. I got it with my Chibi Nova, albeit my eyes widened more than it should have. Probably something I have to investigate in a screen share. Once you find me in the workshop, and I'm not neck deep into trying to survive from either automatons, illuminates, or terminids, then yes, I will go help you. I have to do some minor blender work tomorrow as well. What's that? Look at the number. Unfortunately, I can't read it actually. 2111.11. So much ones. 5 ones. Was it 6? Am I miscounting? No, it's 5. Well, there goes Bev's funny number. Thanks, Fluff. Now, just make this like from here. Nordic says, fun fact, marriage in Sweden literally translates to poison. Poison? Ironic, most marriages are a testament to the definition. Poison, huh? A undead jaguar. Forces of darkness, you have done a good thing. I'm curious, what if... Hold on. Oh wow, nice camera angle.
Heck,
We're always doing good things. Thanks. Wait, the bad side is doing good things. Yes, it truly makes sense. Beth, always making sure things are worse than they were before to those with OCD to numbers. Thanks, Beth. What's this? I was wrong with my math. Is that a correction that's gonna happen? I know what to call the October goal. I know the exact name. It's gonna be the funniest thing. Finally home. Friday and an early day, and Geb's still streaming. Welcome back, Axel. Now, please leave your shoes outside your umbrella if it was raining, and your wallet in my possession. Sit down and relax. I'll be here for a bit more. In fact, calling me curious, I wonder how Eagle 1 looks. Don't mind me. Traveling. My workday's not even halfway over. Oh dear.
I sucks at math.
A familiar sight. And we're back to the point 69, yes. As Beth would have it. No other. I'm home, says Mystic. I gotta tend to some wounds I did not find till water hit me. I'll see you around.
Here, wallet.
Here. Thank you, good sir. I will make sure that your wallet stays safe with me. Just grab that. I'll give it to you later. Clearly not another person's wallet. That's why it was so easily surrendered. You people and your decimals. Mhm. Mystic, from what I've heard, if you want to remedy little scrapes, dings, and scratches, instead of water, which will sting, you find yourself 70% and above isopropyl alcohol, put it into an atomizer spray, and then just close your eyes and enjoy the relief that follows. It's like an inflamed feeling of joy. That's something Beth told me. Yeah, the Eagle 1 Chan, Sif Chan. Whenever I see Sif soldiers, I make sure to go back and protect them. When I see them, they're about to be overrun. I can't stand seeing them perish. I've always liked the Eagle fighters as a rook. A bit cramped, but looks easy to maintain and decently rugged. Wouldn't mind digging into one. Curious about the internals too. Add 20% to that 70%. Yes. Such a nice hot feeling. Ethanol alcohol lingers far longer. It's a strange mix of cool and absolutely scorching. Isopropyl has that nice evaporative cooling effect. Skill 1, huh? Oh, what do you know? It's Pelican. Bet you can't do this. Hold on. Let's go over there. Ah, yes. A familiar sight. It's just so damn dark, though. Yeah. Ship's reactor. It's better. This is better. The rain outside does not seem to be letting up today, says Mitzi. Gosh, unfortunate. Difference between these two. Though 90%. Hold on. We need a good BG for this. Let's go back up. Gosh, there is so much ordnance around. Ooh, a forklift, perfect. No, there's colliders. How do I get back up? Yes, I'm stuck in the hangar, chat. Let's see. Speaking of numbers, how long are we into this? It's only been 1 hour and 38. For once, I feel like time is flowing rather slow. Are you forklift certified? Clearly, I'm not. This funny thing over here is, yes, Gebo's in this forklift. I got to cook in half an hour. Yeah, you have to go enjoy your cook. Do your cooking things. I've sent you some reels as lids, but they're not as gross as the trash juice. Why you the trash juice? I will make sure to look at them after stream. As I am eating, enjoying my meal, I'm gonna look at my phone, scroll through lists of things, and clearly absorb everything that's being sent. Joyous thing. Stepping on the 500 kgs. Oops. Yes, I can now pop in because I'm on my lunch break. Happy lunch break. Lunch break. Oh, I would want a clubhouse sandwich right now. Burger with bacon and spam and cheese sauce might be a bit too greasy, especially when it has 3 patties. But A clubhouse sandwich? It's nice and light, very filling too. Or a steamed pork bun. Something I can buy in 7-Eleven now that I think about it. But would I want to go down 5 flights of stairs, walk 5 minutes, come back, and go up another 5 flights of stairs just for a steamed pork bun? Probably not. I, I remember earlier somebody was knocking on my door. Knock, knock. He's like, yes? So it's like, sir, for Iris. Like, Iris, who's that? Like, probably my neighbor, apparently. So, and then I saw him. He's only like 5'3", and then I saw he's like, because he had to go up. He had to go up all the way from the ground floor to the fifth floor. I feel bad for the guy. Normally, parcels in my apartment, you have to go down and you pick it up yourself. But apparently, the lady was not answering, so he had to. Yes, 5 minutes walk is 5 minutes. Steamed pork bun is forever until I have to sit in my toilet again. Erase the mental image, chat. Steamed pork buns. There are two types that are very common here in the Philippines. We have this thing called bola bola, and we have this thing called asado. Asado is your typical sweetened pork stew-ish thing. And as bola bola is similar to what you would find inside a dumpling. It's like a big spear of meat and other things. Sometimes with a hard-boiled egg and a Chinese sausage. Delicious all the same. Oh, how I wish I had some. Unfortunately, if you're aware of the news, in the Philippines it has been raining for the past almost 1 month. We apparently have a super typhoon that's really bad. Asado in Argentina's barbecue. Yeah, it's like pork stew barbecue. It's dark brown, sweet, and almost like a gelatinous texture to it. It has been raining incessantly. My waterproofing has been, well, proving to be sufficient. Not perfect though. There's a little bit of water going in. I mean, it evaporates, but it seeps to the underside of the floor. So I have to double check. Building admin saw what I did with my room, and they finally got the bright idea of waterproofing the entire building too. New coat of paint and then whatever they're applying outside. But they couldn't do that because of the incessant rain every day. Uh, they were supposed to accomplish this a few weeks ago, but they have yet to start. As usual, the scaffolding is already all set up outside, stacked on top of each other precariously. Unfortunately, the workers are unable to do their job, again, due to the inclement weather. Oh, yeah. You have just done the weather to stop for me. I've tried. Unfortunately, it needs a bribe that I can not afford, Nord. How does the storm expect me to find a cute cloud, preferably in 20 to the 30s range, right? And that's interested in somebody who's dark and broody. I'm not a matchmaker. Actually says if there are rain dances, there have to be reverse rain dances. Ah, yes. All you gotta do is find a dog that barks in reverse. Like he has to inhale.
Bribe for the weather.
I think. Yes, clearly I am just the middleman. So from Beth, I'm just gonna grab the money and then straight up to Mr. Stormy. I need to look at the weather map later. Thank you, Beth. I suck stepping on random wet spots on the floor with socks on. Big yikes. But yeah, look at the satellite images. You should see like a little bit to the left of where I am. There's a huge storm, an enormous one. Sorry. Thanks. I was also supposed to bring out my bike. Like, Gab, you haven't been out and driven your bike in more than a month. I can't. How about you bring it to the local car wash? Touch some grass per se. I cannot do that because it's raining. Park it outside in the rain, get the free car wash. If only the rain wasn't acidic. Hello, Gab Buzz. Anything exciting this weekend?
Sorry
This
to ruin it, Beth.
Nothing. We're formatting, troubleshooting, making sure my foot tracker doesn't fly again. With acidic rain, you can repair. Unfortunately, I do not have a car, nor all I have is a bike. Yeah. So I should lie down here in the forklift. Man. My bike, though, isn't painted. It's. What do you call it again? It has wrap on it and the PPF thing. So, yes. Hey, Geb, it's been months without seeing you, says Music Hot. I'm doing okay. Hi there. New apartment, and it's raining, and I have to reformat my PC tomorrow or Sunday if I procrastinate. Oh, joy. A most joyous occasion. Ah, yes. Look at Gab. He's finally relaxing. There. What world is that? This is called Super Destroyer. Oh my goodness, I saw it late, but fluffy. Ooh, ooh, the decimals. It's In my server, I recently put up a poll because I received a question from Twitter saying, which do you appeal more to? Gay men or straight women? And it did got me thinking. So far, the poll results out of close to 30 voters has been leaning heavily into straight women by like a 70-30% rate. Actually, I can check the percentage. Um, let's see. Where's my little polls channel? Show results. Now, correction. 46% and 54% on straight to him. So they're pretty much in line. So, chat, to those of you that have not, so those of you that have not, or have no access to my server, who do you think do I appeal to more? Like my gay friends, my gay male friends, or like my straight female viewers? And it's okay, I will accept any response. And I would appreciate if there's an explanation as to why. I stand by my statement. Geb is E for everyone. That is also a fair that's also a fair answer. Yes. There's a hill that you have to go here once, West. It's pardon the floating Geb, but this may seem like a familiar spot. So I am currently down there at the bay. Hi. So yes, no stratagem here. Oh no, it is here. Will you look at that? So anyway, yes, there I am. Hi. It's calling for Vesper. If only she could be home, she would like march straight there. Enjoy the view outside. Never has the itch for being home be any stronger than now, knowing how hooked Vesper is towards the game. This stratagem hero here, yeah. Yeah, but I just saw a very concerning reel that you like. What fairy tale did I like was concerning? I wish I could see my history of like vids. But yeah, what was it? It looks like a change chemical laboratory. Amazing. I mean, what? Let me reset view 3D. Hi, yes. As you can see, that is Pelican 1 over there. And no, yes, and that is Eagle 1. Look at all the ordnance before me. That funny thing, the strafing run, those things. The elevator in which you have to go up. Time is it anyway? Still the same. A group of very young boys and look at them. You missed the 500 kg update. I know what you're talking about. The 500 kg, 5000 BC update. Yes, I remember that. That's really funny. Right? He's stuck in his season 1 skin. Thundersnow says, as a straight female, the chill vibes, the music, and you have a voice that's really nice to listen to. I also like how cinematic your shots are. And the expression. Thank you so much, Thundersnows. I appreciate it 100 billion%. Thank you. I didn't see the bald lady. Did finally some. She is currently on break, probably chatting up with the Democratic officer. So close yet so far. Hmm. We're already at our 2 hour mark on stream. How quickly time flies. Gosh. Let's see. I shouldn't be thinking about the bowl of bulldog. How have you been recently indulging, Nord? It's delicious though. Like spicy Korean noodles. You gotta make sure you use the entire sachet. Oh, I know you skip out on what's supposed to be placed in its entirety. You're missing out on the flavor. Oh, the noodle engineers will be so sad knowing you did not use the recommended ratio on things. They're like, ah, but I spent years formulating this exact amount that you should pour over your pasta. Give some bad work advice. It's simple. Depends on what work you have. If you're more of a tradesman, well, make sure to drive the company pickup. It's really important that you do. Why? Because that way you can bring it home, you can swap out the tires into your old tires from a similarly designed pickup and other components, drive back and say, boss, we just went to some really rough road, so yeah, let's replace it. That way you get to save up a lot of money. Hmm. That's my bad life advice. Gab is starting it. Starting what? Bribe God has subscribed. Here we are again with these rather interestingly named fellows. Hmm. I live, I swear I did not fall asleep. Welcome back, Crystal. Is Crystal even online? Let's see. Crystal Tide is over at Popcorn Palacio. Okay. Did not know I was on green. Also, what's this? I completely forgot I had a 9 hour flight coming up. The funny fact that my dad is paying me to fly him across the country. Wow. Imagine being able to fly. Imagine having a dad. Also, in a week is my birthday, says Music High. In case you can stream next week, could you please? Well, pay up, buddy. Unless you're a friend, I ain't doing things for free. For the low, low price of one lasagna, I will give you a personalized greeting right now that's in record. Oh, Cam, where do I buy this lasagna you speak of? Drone. What do you prefer, lasagna or money to work? Right, I am saving up for the oud cap gloves, wasn't I? I just didn't want to be pushy about it on stream because uh, I'm honestly, I was just joking about the pay app Thunder. I'm still embarrassed asking money. Like, if you want to support me, sure. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. But I don't know how old you're going to be, Thunder.
promise with your eyes.
But I'm sure a sweet and amazing person like you will have a birthday equally just as good. So happy birthday in advance. I'm glad you could drop by. I hope you get either a good meal or a good cake. And most of all, good company. I own a business. Oh my good. Well, now, do you want me to extend the greeting? You want me to sing you a song?
It named me as a fool to be.
Hold on. I mean, did I get things confused? No, it's Music Hug. It's Music Hug. Hold on. You both have orange names. What? Let's switch from the top. Fine. Music Hug. What I said earlier, plus you're awesome. Happy birthday. Instantly convinced this guy. See, clearly my head wasn't just thinking about money, hence I got the names all muddled up. Please.
That you promised with your eyes.
You're like 32% of the way. That's true, a third of it. I wonder who gave the big old 30% chunk. Seems like somebody really wants to see me have more hand articulation.
Almost you.
I only see one orange name. I didn't think I was that color. Music Hog, Matox Raw, and Thunder Snows all have the same name color that I'm reading from my very low res overlay in game. Geb, I got you. Give me like 100 for gas and I fly you anywhere. Your limit is 6 hours. 100 for gas? Honestly, I don't know how much gas is for like airplanes, but we shall fly to a beach. There we go. Now I can discern your names. Cap gloves, huh? You know, one thing I completely forgot that I need two trackers in order for it to work. Well, that's a problem for another time. That's why it's that much on the go. But yes, $100 for 6 hours. I think great. That's a great price. Oh, it ran out, huh? Hold on. Swapping power. $66, $65, $35. Yep, that's getting plugged in. For you, buddy. Plugged in too. Oh, oh shit. Baldo says Grandpa, who gave me the jet, owns a small airfield where I live, and is still alive but no longer flies. He runs the airfield, and since he gave me the plane, I fly for him. Oh, that's cool. Imagine being like commonly what I see as inheritance is like, oh son, here you are, take my crappy old 60s car. No, 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 no. Baldo here. Son, no, grandson, come here. Here's your keys. Keys for what, Grandpa? Oh, for the jet. Jet? Yeah, jet, that's yours. It's just like, oh, wow. Man, learning how to fly is on my bucket list. I want to try skydiving first before flying. At least with skydiving, it's if you do a whoopsie, it's just gonna be like in Dark Souls. Just you die. Yeah. Beth in a plane as a threat. What? No. I mean, how about we go look how Beth handles his camper defender project first? I mean, he still has that shovel for that usage, so we're probably gonna see how he's gonna adapt that into flying a plane, and maybe it's just a hole in the toilet and it just goes straight down into the earth instead of like a inner reservoir. But yeah, yeah. So that is not ready today, sadly. What do you mean? How's your vehicle doing? Last time you told me it was leaking differential oil. Alas, flying doesn't seem to be in the cards for me, says Rock. But I'm a damn good jet mechanic. That's the words of confidence I want to hear from somebody servicing my plane. I bet Crystal fell asleep again. Not a surprise if she did. Crystal just left PC before you said that. Gotcha. Probably did fall asleep. They did the test after they fixed the engine. They said it was good. After they fixed the brake line. Now they're saying it's low on power. So they probably didn't fix the air leak I told them about. Probably. Rook says, well, was a jet mechanic. Now I'm between jobs thinking of making a career change. Just don't know what I would do. Having been a mechanic for 11 years or so. Oh, Um, why end it if you've been at it for more than a decade? Hi there, Blue. Oh, and things are going okay. I'm actually about to go skedaddly do. Bad life advice, ask Music Hug. I feel like I'm useless in life and I just want to be locked in my room alone without seeing anything but my meaningless future. What should you do? Close your eyes and enjoy your solitude in your room. You're doing a great job. Bad life advice. It would help also if we were to mule over how utterly insignificant you are in the bigger picture. Compare yourself to friends in social media who have successful careers, families, homes, and vehicles and whatnot. Observe the social ladder of those close to you. Surely you'll feel better. Interesting. We have somebody who could only speak in cat. Hey, Gam, says the rusted rabbit. Good to finally see you online. I never seem to catch you at the right time. Luckily, today is one of my days off. And today is one of the days I'm starting really late. 4:34 a.m. is... I'm not online anymore at that hour. Okay, well, if you feel like you belong in a different place, then go make that move, Rook. Takes a lot of courage, I'm sure. Hmm. It's simple. You have to get the yarn ball in between your two fingers and then make sure to pull it nice and long and straight, right? The more friction burn you feel, like in the skin in between, the better you are at detangling it. Bad life advice, Nekuga. Coincidences that work in your favor. I just hydrated a minute ago. Okay.
We only have 1099.9 for more for a meow.
No. Oh my goodness, you're right. That's so close. But we only have 4 days left on September, which means you will. No, the Monday and the Wednesday stream. So 28, 29, 30 is when I stream. 30, 30. Oh, there's either one or two more streams. Let's see. Are they gonna get the super duper extra special MEOW that is befitting of being written in a Hallmark card that you wish to give to a relative you somewhat care for? Hmm. Let's see. It really worked. You are most welcome, Nekokan. Why, if it isn't Voltage Wicker? Greetings. No way. Leaks have escalated. I am looking at Mitzi's photo of concerningly colored water. I hope that's not a bathroom above you, hence why it's color yellow. Ugh. The Quest Pro for $600, I would get it, Axel. A goopy. The best thing to do to find out if your electricals are compromised, given your flooding watery situation, Mitzi, is to do the same as you would test if there is still charge in a 9-volt battery. Simply stick your tongue in where the charge is and yes, that's all that's required. That's this. Hello, Bruce. Not the place for such things. Chat, I know we all have our burdens, our problems, our lows in life. But my stream is the one place not to unburden your baggage. And I'm sure there are other more accommodating people out there, like a therapist or somebody who specifically asked to listen to said things. What noise does a dragon make? What does it make? Gab is now a therapist. I mean, if you throw money my way, sure, I can make up crap the same way a therapist would. Yes, absolutely. What we're having here is simply a lack of introspection towards yourself. The feeling of worthlessness is a direct contrast of you not feeling how much you are worth. I can go on. I know your intent was good, Rusted Rabbit. Speaking of which, hold on, who was that person earlier? Thunder. She said something about the woodcap gloves. I am now curious. Because the moment that gets filled. Annoying. Mm-hmm. Let's see. The road. Oh no, I see the goobers, which apparently was out of stock in my local warehouse supermarket. Damn. Oh, nothing. It's just a joke. What's your favorite type of brick flavor? Ones that are actually edible. Now, Thunder, I'm not gonna accept money for no reason. Okay? I made the mistake earlier. I thought it was you who wanted the birthday greeting. So I did the whole, hey, you gotta pay up. But yes, again, you're not obligated to give, please. More than welcome to accept, but never obligated to give. I am merely another street busker, strumming his guitar with his hat on the ground. Thank yous to the ones that pulls a Kobe and tosses coins into my hat. I am not a fan of the bricks that has moss on it. If that's an answer. I want to see you move those fingers. I mean, sure, you know how to help. Rusted Rabbit says, I do know how to play a guitar. Just a little more aggressively. I see. Cool. Hard to beat the classic red bricks. I think Litz would be the connoisseur of bricks here. She likely has more knowledge than any common mason. Welcome back. Hmm. Nice, cool. For the fingies, oh my goodness. I can already see my hand having more articulation. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Gosh. Hmm. Hmm. One day. I need to pick up my bass and start practicing again. You know, I envy those of you that know how to play musical instruments. Oh, I can imagine how much I could charm people. Just go. "Ding." One of the things I wish I could play was like what I forgot what you call it. Do you guys know the artist Estaston? He plays the guitar so well. It's not mariachi. It's like finger plucking or whatever on his guitar. Very Spanish, very heart melty. Dun, 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 dun. Something you would hear as like a riff in Zorro or something. Corny, I know, but I wish I could do that. Just prop myself by the fountains and, uh, you slap the bass game. No, I don't. Wish I could. Gab, do you like garlic bread? If so, do you prefer normal garlic bread or cheesy garlic bread? Fluffy says, I used to play the guitar a lot. Sadly, I lost time for it. Time? I mean, you could hop off VR chat and play your guitar again. Hello, Zway. Finger-style plucking. Yes, I'm familiar. I love it. Unlike most metalheads, I actually listen to all styles of music to inspire my own. Fantastic. Cheese makes everything better. Yes, actually. I don't know. That's true. Having cream or cheese on a dish, it just works. I did the blasphemous thing. You know bolognese pasta, aka known as your typical red spaghetti, like red sauce on spaghetti. Yes, there's cheese. That's normal. You know what I did? I put some heavy cream. And it surprisingly works. It's like the marriage between bolognese, like red pasta and white pasta. The sauce. Like carbonara and spaghetti sauce. But hanging out with friends and making offers by leaning into a car. I thought you were gonna ask for Doran's license, not make offers. Offers. Like Fluffy's just like, hey, beautiful. You wanna have a good time? I'm itching to wager, but I have to hold till next week. How about we do it when you can? Like, when the month is concluded. No pressure, Mystic. I know, I know. You're also saving up for your computer stuff. I would very much wish to see you get what you've been wanting for a long time before spending anything on me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love money. I need it, but you first. Like Beth. All Beth is doing is like shaking his pockets with holes on it, and I just like openly collect the coins and everything. Except those coins are made of gold, so they're worth a lot. Of course, license. Oh, so I called it fluffy when I said the vibe the picture gave me. I'm Mystic, please. You know I care for you, right? Um, in case you weren't here, Mystic, last stream and pretty much every other stream, whenever I mention the people close to me, like you, Mecha, Vesper, you are always included. I keep on reminding people that I have a very small circle of friends. And I'm glad you've stuck by me since day one. Beth says, I sadly need to put coins on hold for a bit since I made some expensive purchases and accidentally bought 2 extra. So, Beth, you now have 4 lighthouses or 6? Oh my goodness. Would you consider the neon on your avatar more teal or I'm not sure, maybe cyan perchance? Oh, I wanted 3. I bought. Listen. At least you have an extra. And 4, it means you won't have blind spots. Right? Just 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, no worries. Thanks, Beth. Look. $100, $10, $1. Support is support in my eyes, and I appreciate it. You don't always have to give a lot. I mean, most of the time you should. I mean, you don't have to do it all the time, but yes, I appreciate it. I was told that more than 2 could lead to it. Not with mine. It's working great. Spaghetti pasta's almost done. Oh, please. I make bad financial decisions. That is why I am here to remind you that good financial decisions exist. Because if I'm here, right, you spend on the good financial decision, it will give you a lack of resources to spend on bad financial decisions, right? It's like, I don't have enough money. Like, oh, thank goodness Gib took all of it. So I wouldn't accidentally buy 8 lighthouses. Or put a portable toilet in my camper. Not important at all. Got the rotation working. It was mounted the wrong way. Congratulations. You can now do like this. Like, hey Darren, come here. You know, it's not good to have too much moolah. You could always check it again. That's true. It's like filling up your tank with too much gas, you know? It'll just do bad stuff. Strip your paint, set your vehicle on fire. The biggest expense was upgrading my home network. I may have gotten a big enough Wi-Fi mesh network to do a house. Ooh, oh my. Well, don't worry, Beth. At least it's done. I'm glad you got it done. It's just like my expense probably in having to set up the walling for my apartment. My goodness, was it expensive? Because I severely underestimated the amount of panels. But we made it through. Thank you, everyone. You have reached stream time. My goodness, and it's time for Litz to put on her VR and hop on. I'm gonna go visit Fluffy to see how his slimes are doing. I'll forever. Okay, last 2 minutes. I'll forever be annoyed at how much my apartment costs. I pay more for an apartment than most people pay on mortgage. But I can't be approved for a house because credit is dumb. I've like told myself I'll never be able to afford a house, and I'll probably just rot away in a lovely little apartment. I cannot imagine renting something more expensive than I have right now. And I have a comparatively cheap apartment. Maybe if I find let's see. Oh, it doesn't work because I forgot the controller that I can't ship them. Oh my god, Beth. Ooh. And to hope your hand was nice and toasty. I don't even know what I would do with that. Look, my dream setup is like a house. Half of it is a garage. The other is like a workroom, 3D printing, soldering, mechanic work. My garage is AC too. And then one giant play space. And then a bedroom. And of course the bathroom, the kitchen. Just that. I don't plan on raising kids ever, so I am more than happy with just having a small space. I'll hop on later, gotta get some raises. Of course, have fun, Mystic. Nothing is free in life, says Vesper, so bills are terrible, terrible things. Goal for retirement, vanish into the hills so long the government forgets I exist. Same here. I would very much just want a nice little house in the mountains or by the beach. But yeah, you are watching somebody who is a genetic dead end, chat. No kids for me. Funny thing about plants are they tend to change with age. Oh, you should be familiar with that, shouldn't you, North? So I'll take your advice on that. Instead of plans, I simply set them as goals instead. It's hardly ever 1:1 when you come to enacting a plan that's long term.
I see in hers too. Now your eyes
A small drift track. Yes. Me, I just want forest or like a nice beach, and then I can ride my motorcycle there. Yes, genetic dead end. Vesper says, I don't like children screaming and crying, and no personal space ever unless rarely. I'm someone who easily gets overwhelmed, and if people pile into it, it's never pretty, no thanks. This Vesper and I agree on it. Life is a DIY project, says Nordex. It is, isn't it?
almost touching it will almost do.
Well, Blue, you are still very young. You're 18. I had the same mindset when I was your age. When I find the one, I want the family, I want the little me. Yeah, buddy, let's see how that is when you actually find the one. Not dissuading you from it, but reminding you that raising kids is more than just a challenge. Again, the kids, the racing part is not for me. The making part, yes, it's nice. He cries in 30s. What kind of motorcycle do you have? I was planning on getting a bagger here, so a bagger. I have an adventure bike. It's a versus 1K, the SE. But don't deny it. You know, just like baking. Never mind, I like eating the cake too. What's a good analogy? Yes, the making part is fun. It's like Lego, except you two are the pieces. You remind me of the French racer. You remind me of the French racer on Ricky Bobby. You seem like the kind of guy to sip coffee going 200 miles per hour. God, the Talladega Nights. Oh my god. I still haven't updated my Twitter link. I could have sworn I did. Oh, you're right. It hasn't. It didn't save. I went to Stream Elements. Maybe it didn't save. I specifically removed the VT. Yeah, I did. Bizarre. Did not expect that response. Which one? What response? I do have to get rid of the VT. Yeah, exactly. Beloved oppressor. He's one of my favorite actors, you know. Anyway. Chat, let's cap the stream so I still have battery to do things. And I can go eat as well. Vesper should be home in 2 hours. Well, given travel, maybe 2 hours and a half. With that, I better bid you all adieu. I'll see you Monday. So, skedaddly do. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thunder Snows, thank you for the Oud Cap push. I appreciate a lot. Beth, thank you again. Anonym Axel, if you're still he's like dying in school. Everybody else, Fluffy, who supported all the subs, all the biddies, all the tips. I have to give Axel his wallet back later, right? I forgot. So maybe he'll forget. Have a wonderful time. Innocent Kaz. Hi there, Kaz. Silently lurking, I see. What a batty thing to do. Chat, check out Kaz Hallows. Got one of the... I am biased. I absolutely love the pastel goat color you have. It looks remarkable. Splendid. But yes, I wish I could extend stream more and keep you company, but I gotta go. I'm kind of hungry. I don't know how to do the shout out command, so please just click the name and yes. Am I forgetting anything? I should be good. But yes. Thus concludes my stream, chat. I'm gonna go. Whoa, camera. Go eat food. Oh, 100% will. So yes, you'll be good, chat. Of course, Kaz, well deserved. Catch y'all on Monday, right? I'm legit gonna go. I won't prolong. See ya, everybody. Bye bye.